girl that bought the house next door, she bought it 100% as a rental. So her mortgage is $2,200 a month. She found someone to pay $3,000 a month for the lease, which is an 18-month lease, and she's making $800 a month. So it's essentially and it's a brand new construction house, right? So you think, oh, it sucks to be a landlord, but nothing, knock on wood, is breaking because everything's brand new. You have warranties on everything and anything. So, if you have money to spend, I got to the point where, as my numbers were growing and as my finances were growing, I saw so many people like Francis, like other investors I work with, making a ton of money off of these deals. And I'm like, I gotta get my hands on one of these. I gotta practice what I preach.
YouTube, it's been a while. Had a little break, being in Florida for the grand opening of a tequila garden, but I'm so excited to be here with my good friend Rachel Rao. So I feel like Philadelphia, it's a very small community, and when I think of most successful young professional woman, it's definitely Rachel Rao. And I think it's so awesome because going back to 3 years ago in 2018 was when you got started in the title insurance agency. Rachel actually ended up messaging me on Facebook, and I'm like Rachel just got started in title insurance, and she reached out, wanted to grab a drink. And then I just thought, I don't need any more hot girls in my life. If I'm doing business, I do business with, super productive, just amazing. I don't just, want to get out with an attractive female.
Yeah, Francis told me I wasn't going to get his business when we first met.
So, 3 years later, Rachel is probably, one of the most successful title insurance agents in the city, and we're sitting here in her brand new house. So, congratulations on that. Congratulations on everything. Why don't you tell everyone about, what you do and sort of your approach with City Abstract and selling title insurance.
Yeah, of course. So like Francis said, I started 4 years ago. I was 24 at the time. I'm 28 now. And something they said was to go after your spear. Well, my spear was 23, 24-year-olds just getting out of college. They weren't really buying real estate. So I realized with how hot the city is, this is where I needed to be, and anything and everything that there was to do networking-wise for real estate, I was there. I was probably out 5+ nights a week, just networking, getting my name out there and seeing where I can add value. And, we're here today to do a video to show really the power of social media. That's really what I give a lot of credit to where I've grown. I would kind of Google top producers, top projects coming up, and that's how I came across Francis. So when I met with Francis, he was, super nice, and he's like, look, I met with you because I know you work with some of my colleagues, but you're not gonna get my business. And I'm like, oh, what can I do to get your business? What can I do? And he's like, well, if you can find a way to add value, I'll definitely give you a shot, but you're a pretty girl, that's great, but I don't really need another pretty girl in my life. So I kind of sat there and scratched my head, and I'm like, what can I do to add value? So I started to realize there are a lot of investors, developers looking for seasoned agents that know the market. So I started to put myself in front of them and cultivate those relationships and be able to turn around and say, hey, why don't you meet with my good friend Francis? He's great at finding projects. He's great at sourcing deals. And soon enough, I was able to bring investors, realtors, anything that made sense to Francis. And to this day, he's become one of my strongest referral partners for sure.
Yeah, thanks. And I'd say it's been mutually beneficial. And I'd say what Rachel really excels at is definitely networking, and not only networking, because I fucking hate the word networking, but it's connecting people where both parties are going to see value and benefit.
Right. I mean, I've had people where I've made connections and they've actually cried to me like, wow, Rachel, you've made such a difference in my life. And I hate to take too much credit because it's really about almost working smarter and not harder, because I'm just connecting the pieces. I see a void or a need for something, and Francis can call me one day and be like, hey, I need an assistant, or I need this, and I might hear of someone else unhappy where they are, and it's really about just plugging those pieces together to make sense and to make money. That's really what it came down to.
So here's what impresses me about you too, Rachel. And yesterday was International Women's Day, so happy, strong.
Yes, it came at a good time.
International Women's Day, but I think you're in a field, real estate development. that's so dominated by men. And I think it's awesome how, you've kept up your poise and strength in the industry. I would say, how did you end up in this position, and what was your background prior to getting here? And I think it's so easy, being on the outside and be like, oh my God, Rachel's, making a couple $100,000 a year and she's so successful. But what is the path that you went through to get here? Because, your parents made millions of dollars and just handed you this job.
So I came from a very average blue collar family. I went to community college because I had not a clue what I wanted to do. And then I went to Rowan University. And I was bartending through college, paying my bills, and that's kind of where I started to get the concept of wanting to be in sales. But I actually applied to a free internship over the summer with Cure Auto Insurance. So I was 21 while all my friends are racing down the shore to go to their shore houses the first summer, 21. I'm driving up to Princeton, New Jersey for free to work a free internship to get some experience. And the owner of the company took a liking to me, and he's like, you're here early, you leave late, you're the first one to sign up to work on the weekends. What's your story? And we ended up cultivating a relationship with Erico, who I'm still really good friends with today. He owns a medical malpractice insurance company, and he's like, listen, I think if you're killing it at these events, you could be selling insurance to doctors. So I graduated college on a Thursday. I started with him on a Monday, and I worked my butt off. I did that for about 2 years, and my territory and a lot of where financially made sense was in New York. So I was at a point where I was either going to relocate or look into other ventures, and I went to a networking event, which, they can be great. And I met with someone that was Untitled, and they're like, listen, I think you could really do this. And you're driving an hour to meet with one person. What if you could be in the city of Philadelphia and meet with 5 people in one day? And I'm like, the numbers are just going through my head at that point. And I'm like, all right, let me try to do this. So to be fair, I interviewed with multiple title companies because I had to sign a non-compete. So if I was truly stepping away from this, I wanted to make sure I was making the right decision. And I met with Greg Rego, who is the owner of City Abstract, and I just completely, his energy, we hit it off immediately. And something he said to me was, look, I know you don't know anything about real estate, but if you promise to grind and work hard, I will give you every tool to be successful. I will believe in you. I will back you. Anything you need, I will do for you. You just have to put the work in. So, moral of the story is I busted my butt. After 6 months, I moved here. I was living in South Jersey back at my parents because I went from salary to commission. So my first 2 months in real estate, I made $100, and I was broke. I got my nails off. I was like, all right, this is going to be tough. And once I started making enough sales, I moved in with a friend, and I felt like if I really wanted to take over the Philly market, I had to be here to do so. And that's when I was really going to make the, relationships that were going to be a game changer. So for people who think, oh, I don't have family money, or my parents don't own a business, or there's no entrepreneurs, that you don't need those things to become successful. It's really about the drive and what you're wanting to put yourself through. There were plenty of nights where I was so tired and I've been up since 7 a.m., but I still went to that networking event and put on my best face, and I still got up the next morning and did it all over again. It's really about how hard you're willing to push yourself. I wish I did, it would be nice, but I don't have any developer cousins or investor friends. It was just, I've made them now, which I'm extremely thankful for, but starting off, I didn't know anyone.
Yeah, and I mean, even my little brother that, just got into the business, has every resource in the book. I mean, for 18 months, not having any sales, I think that, most people just think it's a rocket ship to being successful, whereas, you really got to grind and, work your butt off to get that business going.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely discouraging, especially in the beginning. Your first year of real estate, you're not going to make a lot of money. I was living with a friend, Lawrence Resnick, who is one of Francis's partners on the real estate team, and he was basically like, look, you can pay monthly. Since you're not really making any money yet, you can kind of do my laundry for me, pick up one of my cars, or, get an oil change, and I'll help you out at the end of the month. It's definitely a grind, and there were many opportunities where I could have quit and took a salary job and took something more secure, but that's not really fulfilling for me. I knew that if I kept trying to break ground, that it was going to happen, and it was entirely up to me. The ball was in my court. So it probably took me a good year to really get my feet wet. And like I said, I closed one deal in 2 months. My first month of real estate, I'm now doing about 60 to 70 deals a month.
Hell yeah. So what's it like now, 3 years after getting
So 3 years
2018,
now.
like what does your business look like?
So, now my relationship, I'm not really before I reach out to anyone and everyone, right? Now my goal is to really just work with my top producers in New Jersey and the Philly area and who I can connect them with. Because now 4 years have changed. My friends are getting ready to look at houses and they are coming to me first. Like, hey, who's a good realtor? Or do I really need, people still think you need 20% down to buy a home? And that's definitely not the case. I've seen closings where with seller's assist and some of these grants, people are coming $1,000 out of pocket, which is crazy, but it's definitely doable. So now my day-to-day is really maintaining those strong relationships and growing even more. I mean, right now we're working on a $14 million deal with a huge developer. A lot of it's cash. There's a lot of money to go around in the Philly market. And a lot of my Jersey clients are saying, like, how is Philly staying alive? Because we're seeing people come here. Well, every couple leaving here, I say 2 are coming from New York and LA.
Yeah.
Because New York and LA, though I love both places so much, you can get so much more for your dollar here. For example, running a house like this is probably like $3,000. In New York, that's like a 1-bedroom studio. So people are realizing with, now that things are changing, okay, I'm working from home now, I want this space. Maybe I'll drive up to New York that 1 day a week I have to be in the office and I'll have all this space and room to work from home. So it's definitely keeping us alive. Really now I focus on investors and developers because that's where, I can really hop in and change their business and bring it to the next level by bringing people like Francis in, now I've made so many construction connections like, Hugo. Hugo's fantastic. He's our granite guy. We love him to death. Connecting him with people to save them money on their products, and a lot of vendors dropped the ball because they couldn't get any supplies during COVID, and people like Hugo never stopped. So making sure you're aligned with those connections and seeing how you could help them and watch them grow, it's a lot of fun. It really is. This part of my job, it was the nitty gritty in the beginning was tough, but I am not saying it's not a stressful business, but I'm at a point now where it's really cool to watch people bring things to the next level.
I think too, Rachel, especially with this house that you just bought, from taking a look at this house as an investment, I think you made such a good decision. So, you bought this house minimal amount of money down. It's like $500,000, and it's appreciated to like $575.
So I've lived here for 3 months. I bought, and I was the first one to buy here. So I essentially bought a construction site. And when I first put a deposit down, there was nothing built. It was just like space, which was really scary because you're kind of spending, this money on something that is a photo, like, hey, this is what it's going to look like. But I did my research, and again, this is why it's so important to be with a good realtor, because you want someone that's connected in the business. So I knew going into this, I knew Frank Humes. I've seen his work in the past. It's him and Cliff Lasky partnered on this, and I've seen their work previously. I've visited their sites before, so I trusted it. I knew it was good. I bought in at 500. There's gonna be 25 townhomes. Behind us, there's going to be a 60-unit apartment building, and there's gonna be commercial space in the bottom. They're talking about having a pool, a gym, a movie theater. None of that's here now, but in a few years when it is, the price will go up. They just sold its 10th house and it was for $585. So I've made about $85,000 just living in my house for the last 3 months.
The next thing I gotta get you is connect you with a local bank where they'll give you a line of credit for 90 LTV, and you can, borrow, and you can get another 50 grand at 3%. And then pay 3.5% interest on that, and you can make 30 to 50% on your money investing in deals.
Well, when you have money like that too, I see a lot of people are like stocks, but real estate actually has more of a return. The girl that bought the house next door, she bought it 100% as a rental. So her mortgage is $2,200 a month. She found someone to pay $3,000 a month for the lease, which is an 18-month lease, and she's making $800 a month. So it's essentially and it's a brand new construction house, right? So you think, oh, it sucks to be a landlord, but nothing, knock on wood, is breaking because everything's brand new. You have warranties on everything and anything. So, if you have money to spend, I got to the point where, as my numbers were growing and as my finances were growing, I saw so many people like Francis, like other investors I work with, making a ton of money off of these deals. And I'm like, I gotta get my hands on one of these. I gotta practice what I preach. So I made the jump, and it's been really lucrative. It's been really cool watching, like, you know, the houses go up. Each day there's something new going on with the project. So it's really cool. It's a blessing to have parking. I feel super spoiled. I think it's my favorite. The rooftop might be my favorite part when summer hits, but I think parking's my favorite because, again, I do a lot of work in New Jersey as well. So when I'm back and forth over the bridge, just being able to pull up to your house after a long day is really a luxury.
And I'm sure you get this a lot because I'm getting a lot of like DMs from friends and friends of friends like, hey, I just graduated school, you know, what advice would you give to me? So what would you say would be your career advice to, you know, someone that is just getting out of college and, you know, wants to get started in a business or in like a sales role where, you know, they're 100% commission with, what advice would you give? So,
you know, and I do get these questions a lot. I'm sure you have a bigger following than me, so you get a lot more, but I do have a lot of friends of mine, even like their siblings who are just getting out of college asking these questions. And probably my biggest thing is to take a chance on yourself. I knew I wasn't happy in that 9-to-5 role. It was comfortable. You know, you got a guaranteed paycheck, you had health insurance, everything was pretty, you know, safe and cushiony, but I didn't wake up feeling like a fire under me, you know, like I wake up and I love to do this. I wake up and I'm like, what are we gonna do today? Who am I meeting with? Where are we going? Like, it's just different every day. So my biggest advice is to, you know, get a bartending job, save like a little bit of money up, and then go take your dreams, because there are so many older people that do a 9-to-5 that are miserable. We are so young, and there are so many creative, hungry people out there that they have the knowledge to do so. They're afraid, they're scared. So I guess my biggest thing is don't be afraid of your dreams. We are young enough now where you can go after it, and, you know, if things don't work out, you can go back to that 9-to-5 job. But if you came out of college, especially with all this debt, utilize it, see what you can do. It may be a rocky road in the beginning, but it's gonna pan out in the end.
The biggest thing that I take away from that is like what you said about like go get a bartending job and save that money, because I can relate it to when I was in college, my junior year. I took a $25 an hour internship with JP Morgan, and then I was doing sales where it was like commission only from this company, Isogenics. I took like both streams of income, like saved a ton of money for while I was in college.
Right.
And that funded my real estate sales business as an agent, where I was making no money to start with. And that allowed me to put a down payment on my first house. And then through there, like, I just kept building and building and working.
Right.
And things exponentially grow. Like, I bought my first house, so I stopped paying rent. And not only did I stop paying rent, I started bringing in friends that were paying me rent monthly. And it's crazy how that, you know, little tiny pebble can just grow into a boulder,
right?
Like as you keep the momentum going, and like it literally sets you up for the rest of your life. Like a little bit of sacrifice and discipline and going above and beyond.
Well, I've seen you do it too. I mean, there's been nights when the world's normal and Francis and I are at an event and someone's like, come out after, and we're both like, nah, you know, the work part's over, we gotta go home. And those are the sacrifices that you don't see on Instagram. You're not gonna see, you know, people living very frugal. I was very frugal my first 6 months of real estate. I lived at home, I didn't go out on the weekends, I worked hard. The only time I was out was networking, and I got my butt right back home. I cooked all my own meals, which, you know, you could spend $25 at the grocery store to eat all week. And I did it to save and let any money that I made in real estate invest back into my business.
You know, it's crazy. My 2018, I was like a couple years in the business, but I was still making like a couple $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
I was still taking Uber Pool and taking the bus sometimes and taking the subway.
Right.
And it's like, there's people that make way less that are just like blowing money.
Yeah, I mean, right now I own my car. I have a Ford. It's a nice car. I could obviously, where my finances are, I could afford a Range Rover, but I'm in the city right now, and I'm like, maybe that'll be a gift to myself when I hit a milestone. But you don't need to live extremely lavishly. Like, even when you start making your money, and I see people make this mistake a lot because we are commission based, they have a killer month, they get that first check, and they blow it. Well, guess what? The next 2 months, there's no sales. So now they're living off of ramen noodles and whatever their mom's cooking for dinner on Sunday. So, you know, like you said, there's no reason to, even when you get to a certain level of success, there's no reason to still be realistic, still be reasonable what you're spending. Like, yes, I can afford a new car right now, but I own my car. It's free. I don't pay a monthly payment, and I can, you know, I can sell it and make, it's worth 12 grand. So if I wanted to sell it, I can. But for me, you don't have to, because you start making a couple $100,000. You don't have to spend all of that money right away. Like you can be smart with it and kind of think like, okay, maybe I'll splurge. Next year if I hit X amount of $1 million worth of sales, then I'll think about something like that. So, don't compare yourself to people, because some of those people that are driving Range Rovers and having shore houses, it's not their money, their leases, they're about to claim bankruptcy. It's not always how things pan out to be.
Yeah, thanks for having me over.
Thank you for
coming.
coming.
People will see a lot of value.
Yeah, and I just wanted to end with the reason I was able to find this project is because I have good connections in the real estate market. So if you are looking to buy and you're looking to buy something, for example, I just helped a friend out. She was a Temple grad. She bought a house like right outside of Fishtown, and she's coming to closing with like $7,000, and she's renting out both rooms, so she'll make about like a $200 profit a month between her friends. So if you're looking to do something like that, Francis can definitely take care of you. I can insure the deal. Don't let your money, it doesn't have to necessarily go into the stock market, or it doesn't have to be in your savings. You can be living for free and make yourself an entrepreneur and become a landlord.
Oh yeah, cheers.
Cheers.